Let's try this again since I'm not muted. Might as well get that shit out of the way now. All right. Welcome back to Unfornicated, everybody. I'm your host, Dano, this evening. This evening is going to be a little different um, because, well, look, I'll be honest. I was going to spend this weekend getting ready for my vacation, doing laundry, cleaning up, um, drinking heavily while watching Derp, something along those lines. But no, there was actually two things that showed up and ended up being three things that showed up that kind of caused me to take pause. One of them was Danny Jones, the ever bastion of truth and non-conspiratorial conspiratorial thinking, uh, put out a podcast, and I'm was going to cover it, but then I saw the news, and one of our members actually asked me a question, and I thought that as a little more uh, I don't know. I guess you could say is a little more newsworthy, I guess. Basically, we're going to talk today about um, some changes to the U.S. Navy military, specifically regarding aircraft carriers. And we're also going to talk about the morale problem on Abraham Lincoln as told through my eyes. So that's kind of where we're going to be going there through that. So if you're here for Derp, I'd say you're not really, you might not enjoy the stream as much. However, if you're here because you enjoy the channel, you enjoy my let's call unique take on things, you're welcome. And I'll be happy to discuss things with you guys. We'll take some question and answers and everything else. So what I need to do is I need to move chat around here. Hold on a second. I have way too many fucking windows open. Because I was doing research. Let's move this up here. Okay. Yeah. Well, if they fix the shitters, morale might be improved. Yeah. Well, that's only part of the problem. First and foremost, hello everybody. Welcome back. If you're new here, um, well, stay a while. You might enjoy it. You might not. Um, we are. If you're not new here, make sure you go ahead and hit the back button really quick, and go hit the like button. Um, if you've been here a few times, you're not subbed, and you find yourself here on the regular, by all means, hit the subscribe button. We cover a bunch of topics. Usually we cover conspiracies and things of that nature. However, tonight we're just taking a little slight detour. And I think it's going to be better for everybody if I'm to be. Okay, what? Hold on. I'm having. Holy shit. Hold on. I'm having problems. All right. Hold on. I got to do this way. I just lost all my notes and I had it on a drive, and now I am well, fuck. Now I'm having problems because it was on a cloud and now it's not on a cloud, and now we're having problems. So let me try to fix this real quick. Shall we? Um do. Bear with me for one moment. Open. Okay. I think this is where we're at. I made some changes. I hope they took. If they didn't, well, I could be wrong. Who knows? But we'll come back to that. Let's see. I need to just 2 more seconds. I promise. I just need to close some windows because I only have like 30 of them open right now, and I have 3 streams. Basil problem. With the $5, thank you. I appreciate it, bud. Unfornicated. That will eliminate 99% of the guys that got C's in science in middle school, but love to claim to be global geniuses. Not for nothing. I'm not a genius by any means, but I can at least speak to some of the engineering, and I try to stay in my lane. I'm not one of these well-versed all topics, relativity, gravity, orbital mechanics, all this other stuff. But I do have specific lanes I stay in. But I appreciate that. Thank you for that. But as Jay just pointed out, when you deal with flat earthers, you do not need to be a genius, because it could be. If you watched Whatcast today, you saw that. Well, that was pretty much let's just call it fun. Two pictures is all I needed to basically destroy all of today's arguments. Let's see. Hold on real quick. We got to do the spot. Sponsored by Bumbu. Well, not sponsored by, but we are drinking Bumbu tonight. However, we are open to sponsorships and we are open to some sort of, you know, uh, yeah, whatever. Anyway, uh, so we're drinking rum tonight, and since we're drinking rum, well, we drink rum every night, but let's do a Navy stream because they kind of go hand in hand. Um, Adam, hey man, I appreciate it. Thanks. I'll catch you on the flip side. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. So yeah, my weekend was supposed to be about cleaning and packing and getting ready to take the dog on the first vacation to a beach. Um, Sorting out some logistics of things that I'm going to be doing while there. I'm realizing camera. Oh, wrong way. Hold on. Mm, mm, Start. There we go. It's on auto framing. God damn it. You piece of shit. All right, fine. I'm just going to leave it right where it is. I don't care anymore. It's not important. So my weekend kind of got turned around and I started working on these things. So I'll probably do another live stream on Monday or Wednesday night, and we'll go over the original subject I was working on. And that original subject that I was working on, for those who care, it was about Exodus propulsion, and their supposed claim. Got to sneeze again. Their supposed claim that they found propulsion. I'm trying to figure out what it is. They found a propulsion system that is basically fuelless. So we're going to go over some of their claims, and it's not, again, that's not really a debunk. It's more like asking questions, but we're going to go that route. But that'll probably be Monday or Wednesday, so we'll try to get those in since I'm not going to be around next weekend. In the meantime, let's get started with what I do. Let me just say, I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope everyone's enjoying themselves. Hey, the 11's here. Perfect. Okay, so here's what we are going to do. Sour Pounder, by the way, thanks for the like and subscribe. Appreciate that, bud. So tonight we are going to be covering the entire US aircraft carrier problem. We're talking about the money, we're talking about the morale, and we're talking about the mission. Because in the space of about 1 week, three different stories landed that are actually really one story, but nobody's really connecting them. So instead of looking at each one individually, we're going to try to connect the dots and try to create a storytelling arc here that encompasses all that. Now, story one is a signed order. On August 13th, a national security presidential memorandum went out. Now, it's got a bunch of different terms on it, but if you're in the Navy, it's being called the catapult memo. Well, it's a little more than that. And what it's actually titled is this. It's titled Rebuilding the United States Navy and America's Shipbuilding Industrial Base. And most of it is exactly that. We do have a shipbuilding problem going on here in the United States that has gone on for basically unchecked for the last probably close to 2 decades. And between ships needing maintenance and being able to be refueled and all these other things that kind of go on, there is not necessarily enough shipyards to build ships as well. Now, outside of the shipyards is they haven't been necessarily up to date and everything else with the cutting edges of manufacturing. The other problem we have is manpower. So that starts a whole other political comment, but we're trying to leave the politics a little to the side today and concentrate on the parts that matter. So What are we going to be? So what is it that's actually that is talking about? Well, it authorizes the Navy to build ships overseas, specifically like in South Korea. It stands up a fifth public shipyard, and it creates a component repair center aimed at submarine repair delays, another issue we've been dealing with. Now, I guess what you could say is this is the Golden Fleet document. And it's something I've been wanting to cover for a little while, but I kind of kept putting it off because, well, there's a lot to it. But inside this is one paragraph directing the Navy to strip the electromagnetic aircraft launch system. And it's right here, section 2. So they want to strip this electromagnetic aircraft launch system out of the future USS Doris Miller and put back in steam catapults. Um, and then also to swap out the advanced weapons elevators for hydraulics. Basically, we want to go backwards. We're going to discuss that. Story 2 is not necessarily signed, but it is reported. So 2 days ago, the Washington Post reported and sourced from 7 current and former officials that the Navy is evaluating the feasibility of moving the island. And that's the multi-story hold on. They want to move the island from way back here forward from the stern towards the middle of the ship. And it's basically for aesthetic reasons to look more like the carriers that served in World War II. Now, this one is just a feasibility review, and it's driven by by specific preferences about how the ship should look. Now, this is under study. This isn't necessarily signed and it's not implemented, but it is under study, which means money is being spent on it. Time is being spent on it. Needless to say, my opinion is, what the fuck? Now, the difference between signed and study, okay, we're going to keep those in 2 separate boxes tonight so we don't conflate it. Story 3 is the one that turns the other 2 from an engineering argument into something that actually matters. We're talking about a human cost. We're talking about morale. We're talking about things like that. Right now, tonight, while we are all sitting here, the USS Abraham Lincoln is somewhere in the Arabian Sea on day 260 something of a deployment. That's consecutive days at sea. No port calls, no R&R, no getting off the boat. And we're going to talk about what effect that has on a crew from my own specific viewpoint, my own experience. Basil, for the $5 again, make stream great again. Make Steam great again. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Steam sucks. All right. As with anything, guys, I'm gonna try to keep up with this, but I have a lot of notes to get through. So tag me if you want me to read something. Put a super chat if you want me to read something. Otherwise, I'm gonna leave you guys have your conversations going on in there. But as always, standard rules apply. So, but I do trust you all to kind of keep your tones in check because this is about an engineering and a human cost, not the politics behind it. So now you're probably asking, where's the line that connects all these 2? And to be honest, I kind of want to put it on the table kind of before we start. Steam catapults need more sailors than EMALs, which is the electromagnetic system. Hydraulic elevators need. Sorry, I just got a message. Just checking it. Electronic elevators need more sailors and more maintenance hours than electromagnetic ones. The Ford class was deliberately designed around a smaller crew so that the So the order that came out on August 13th does not just cost money, it adds people and it adds work to a carrier force that is currently running its people into the deck. That's the show today. Money, morale, and mission in that order, because that is the order of the damage flow. So if you're new here, or if you're not new here and you're regular, you kind of already know the story, but if you're new here, I'll run through it real quickly. This is where I come from. I was a cryptologist in the Navy. I served on the USS Kitty Hawk in the mid 90s. Kitty Hawk was a steamship, steam catapult, steam plant, the whole thing. So when I tell you tonight that going back to steam is a downgrade, just understand that I'm not defending a system I romanticize from a distance. I'm very critical of said system. I lived under the flight deck. I know that what the thing we are being nostalgic about was actually like. Copium, you're absolutely right. Design choices based on appearance, not on practical consideration, is a bad decision. Hopefully, everyone comes to that same conclusion when we're done tonight. So, let's start with Act 1, which is the money. Okay, so receipts first. So, the memorandum gives the Secretary of War, in consultation with the Secretary of the Navy, by the way, the Secretary of Defense. I refuse to call it Secretary of War. If you don't like it, tough shit. Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of the Navy, 60 days to deliver a plan to the President, routed through the Director of OMB and the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, covering the measures, timelines, and resources required to replace EMALs with, and the advanced weapons elevator system with steam and hydraulic systems on the CVN-81, which is the Doris Miller. The specificity, oh, Jesus Christ, already too much wrong. The specificity is that, oh, fuck. Look, the story is in the specifics, okay? This is not a policy direction about acquisition. This isn't about acquisition and how to build individual ships. This is a document naming the whole number and the subsystem that they want changed. The Doris Miller is in the process of being built. That's a fact. So what this does not touch, it does not touch the Gerald R. Ford, the John F. Kennedy, and the Enterprise all get to keep the EMAL system. However, so unless this changes again, the Doris Miller and everything after her effectively becomes a new subclass of the Ford-class supercarrier hull with a Nimitz-class launch system bolted onto it. That's the only way to kind of explain. But the timing is not really accidental, because Doris Miller sits at roughly the last point in the construction calendar where a reversal like this is even physically conceivable. Her keel is due to be laid by the end of this year, with delivery anticipated in the early 2030s. So, what is the difference between steam and EMALs? What are we actually giving up here? So let's start with the actual job. A strike fighter at maximum takeoff weight cannot reach flying speed on its own engines inside the length of a flight deck. That's why we have catapult flights, launch systems. An E-2 Hawkeye with its thrust to weight ratio cannot get off the deck without help. Roughly 90 meters, stand still to flying. That is the actual job. Literally, we're throwing aircraft into the air. Now, we're doing that with using electromagnetic power to ramp them up to speed until their engines take off. So they have enough wind going over their wings, accelerates them faster, creates lift, and off they go into the wild blue yonder to quote the Air Force. So, for 70 years, the answer to this problem was steam. Two slotted cylinders, similar to a double barrel shotgun, a piston in each, a shuttle riding on top. Um, do do do. Well, I guess all these pictures would actually work, but let's use this one. So it basically is a double barrel shotgun with a shuttle sitting on top, um, and a holdback fitting that keeps the aircraft in place while the pressure builds up, the steam pressure builds up. Then you dump the high pressure steam behind the pistons, and the airplane flies down the deck and then leaves. Yes, Basil, I'm going to kind of go into a little bit of that. We can come back to that afterwards too. Thank you, mate, for the $5. You're asking, can we describe the process that a system like EMALS would undergo in order to be included in a CV design? Yes, we can discuss that. So it works. I watched it work. I lived under the water break. It's rough. And it costs you. It costs the Navy a footprint because thousands of feet of high pressure piping, accumulators, plumbing, all below the flight deck, all competing with volume with everything else. Fresh water also. Every launch consumes steam, and steam consumes distilled water you had to make. Maintenance is also another issue because high pressure steam plumbing in a salt environment is a maintenance nightmare that never ends. Remember the word maintenance in this, okay? And remember the environment we're in, salt water. And this comes back into Act 2, which has got a body count attached to it. Let's not call it a body count. Let's call it facilitating personnel. And this shot, this steam powered shot, is brute force. There's no other way to actually describe it. Steam delivers a sharp acceleration, peak right into the airframe, and then falls away. The airplane takes a beating on every launch, and the beating is fatigue life you are spending. The ship takes a beating with every launch because the water break at the end of the catapult is, for sake of the word, a space half filled with water. And as the pistons come in, it slows down very quickly as the pistons compress that water. It's the equivalent of a bus hitting a wall at about 150 miles an hour directly above your head. That's the only way I'm going to describe it. So EMALS is a linear induction motor. And I'm guessing this might be the best one to go with. Sure. Oh, this kind of covers everything. All right, let's not go back to that one. I want to find an EMALS. Again, I had this up, but it might help if I spell it right. That might work. Let's just do this. Let's just go back. Let's see. Here's the abstract. Okay, here we go. So basically, it's kind of simple in enough. Okay, it's a linear induction motor. You're not banging a piston with pressure. You are running a traveling magnetic wave down a track and dragging the shuttle and the plane with it. So it's under a closed loop control. Now, because this current is controlled electronically, you can shape the acceleration curve instead of just releasing it. So it could have more of a gentle start as opposed to an abrupt start. It also has a curve that can be done at the end. So three things steam cannot give you: a flatter, smoother acceleration profile, which means less peak stress into the airframe and the ship for the same end speed; a higher energy ceiling, so you can launch heavier at max gross weight; and the one that matters for the next 30 years, you can dial the energy down far enough to launch a lightweight, unmanned aircraft without tearing off its nose gear. Because that's the other thing. The unmanned aerial drone program does not really launch off steam. It would be infinitely much heavier. In fact, as a quick aside, when the F-35 was being rolled out, it's the Joint Force platform, right? There is the F-35A, F-35B, F-35C. The C actually is actually heavier because it's reinforced for steam catapults for a carrier version. Now, what does this mean for everything else? Well, it kind of means, hold on, I got to pull this back out here. So as we're talking about it, instead of just being launched straight up, to speed, straight across and straight down, basically an ejector seat, for sake of another word, to something more gradual that's less stress. And you can launch smaller, lightweight vehicles like drones, and you can also carry more, because steam has a finite amount. Electromagnetic lets you throw aircraft of higher weights off the end of the end of the boat there. So, but let's talk about the bill on this. So the money is already spent. General Atomics holds the contract worth roughly $1.2 billion to supply EMALs and the advanced arresting gear for Doris Miller. The company says production of the equipment is close to half finished, and that is not a design on a shelf. That's hardware on the floor. EMALs has already been on the Enterprise, the Kennedy, and the Ford. So to replace EMALs with a steam catapult, it's not like hot swap Legos. It's a redesign, significant redesign, because the Ford class was built around electricity from the keel up. Like the two reactors, the A1B is what they call the reactors, were deliberately sized to produce far more electrical power than a Nimitz plant, precisely so EMALs, the arresting gear, and the weapons elevators and future direct energy weapons could all run electric. So the EMALs hardware threads through 48 separate construction zones, and you are now going to be re-engineering the hull to accept steam mains and accumulators in volume that was allocated to something else a decade ago. So you have electrical alleyways that now are going to have to be steam, not Legos. Does not work this way. And the supply chain is dead, basically. Brian Clark at the Hudson Institute pointed out that the Navy has not bought a new steam catapult in more than 20 years. There is no vendor sitting on a shelf waiting for the Navy to call them to rescue them. They kind of put their eggs all in this basket. Now, to Basil's point earlier, EMALS goes through, so something of this significant goes through immense testing on the ground, as opposed to on a boat to start with. Um, and everything that kind of goes into that testing. Not only does it need to launch an aircraft, but we're also talking about landing an aircraft in this case. We're also talking about the idea that what's maintenance going to be like? What's the people that you need for this? The personnel requirements. All these need to add up into what's going to be going into this. So it's a test, it's a proof of concept. It goes into prototype. Then it goes into active testing with training planes. And then it goes into active testing with actual warcraft, warplanes. Then when it's passed through all those sort of systems and it's shown that it's viable and it's shown that it's capable of doing what it needs to do. Again, we do it on land first, because if it fails, there's a runway for the plane to go off of and get in the air or shut down. You kind of don't want to do that on a boat, because if it fails in the middle of a launch and you don't have enough speed, you're going to end up in a drink. That's just the way it is. But the Navy hasn't bought anything in over 20 years. So is this a Home Depot run or what? I mean, what are we talking about? There's no vendor ready to do this. So in other words, just because you write a memo and an executive order does not mean you can mysteriously create a manufacturing process. So besides that, let's talk about the actual cost, because this is where things get a little different. So I want to be precise here, because I'm going to hold the other side to precision later. Reuters put the catapult design change in hundreds of millions of dollars. Analysts thinks it runs higher once a schedule is priced in. So I'm not necessarily going to say billions for this one when the reporting does not say billions for this one. Does that make sense? I'm comfortable in saying hundreds of millions with propensity to be cost overrun. No surprise there, right? It's the military. Because you got to include things like delays, pricing, things of that nature. And the schedule damage is worse than just the money in this case, because delaying another carrier is the precise opposite of what the memorandum was trying to do in accelerating Navy shipbuilding. See the problem? Pick a fucking lane. Do you want ships being built, or do you want to redesign them? Now, if we're going to talk about EMALS, especially in the Ford, had it had testing issues. And I can verify these testing issues. I can pull up the articles and things like that. In fact, let me do this now. So specifically, the whole system suffered a fault during a testing period. EMALS has not been perfect. EMALS is, some have said it was rushed. Others have said these are typical gremlins. Some people claim it works perfectly, never had a problem in the world. I'm not that optimistic, nor am I that pessimistic. I'm in the gremlin camp. It is a new technology. You're throwing it in the seawater for the first time in a hazardous environment. It's going to have problems. You've not fully integrated it into a ship until now. It's going to have problems. It's also why the Ford testing period was so long, and EMALS had to be repeatedly looked at and troubleshooted and fixed throughout that testing period. I believe, if I remember correctly, there was 5 major faults in the EMAL system during testing. This just being one of them. Canadian Space Advocate claims they know EMALS has issues. Can you ask them to verify these claims? That's what I'm doing right now. So It's the ship integration. It's building the ship around an electricity component and requirement that is not future proof, but allows for future growth. And you're throwing in these systems onto a brand new class of carrier. Not something we haven't done before. It's something the Navy is relatively good at, but there's problems. There always will be problems because it's a foreign environment. You're floating in the middle of the ocean. Parts, repairs, these all impact whether or not a ship is operational or safe for that matter. Because even though they ride in a carrier strike group, the planes that are on the aircraft are there to help protect it. So, um, so the schedule damage, as we just alluded to, is worse than money. We're talking about delaying another carrier, and we're going to talk about exactly who pays for a carrier that is not there because it has tangential costs, so to speak. The argument for all this is that the electric catapults do not work. So here is a number. As of March 2026, per Pentagon documents, the USS Gerald R. 4 has completed 36,863 EMALS launches. And I'll give you a better one in about 20 minutes because the Ford just spent 11 months proving it in combat. So nobody is pretending EMALS has a clean development. I'm not saying that. The early reliability numbers were, they were kind of, not going to lie. And the program earned every bit of criticism it got. I was one of them. But we're proposing to abandon it at the exact moment it's working. The gremlins have been identified. The Ford just came back from an extensive deployment, in which case it worked like it should. Now, I'm not saying it worked perfectly. Nothing ever works perfectly on a ship. Anyone who's been on a ship knows that. But it worked enough as expected to keep the ship operational. So, why should we abandon it if it's just started working now? I don't get it. Here's something else too. A General Atomics EMAL systems. France has the Peng, which it was approved in late 2025. I think it was right at the end of the year. And it's designed around 3 General Atomics EMALs and 3 arresting gear. China just recently commissioned the Fujian, and it has an electromagnetic catapult as well. So it's growing. Countries are adopting it because it's proven, and it's proving not only that it saves wear and tear on aircraft, wear and tear on people, and the amount of people you need. It's just got a lot of benefits all the way around the board. But here's where we have a contradiction in the budget. So again, I'm not throwing out a lot of figures here. I'm just using hundreds of millions as opposed to billions. I'm trying to be intellectually honest while we're talking about this. And at the same time, bring to light what this actually means. So before we leave what the money this is going to cost, one thing that's been sitting in plain sight for 3 months while everyone argued about catapults is the Golden Fleet. And its centerpiece is the BBGX, or the next generation battleship. It's called the Trump class, which It won't be. Since the first ship is going to be called the Defiant, it will more likely, in line with more than 100 years of Navy tradition, be named after its first ship. In the fiscal year 2027 shipbuilding plan, the Navy confirmed it will be a nuclear-powered battleship designated BBGN, which stands for Battleship Guided Missile Nuclear. 35,000 tons, the first nuclear-powered surface combatant this Navy has fielded since the 1990s. Why nuclear? Well, the Navy's own reasoning is simple. A warship built to fire hypersonic missiles, recharge high-powered lasers, and run large sensor arrays, and potentially mount electromagnetic railgun needs a lot of power. Kind of the byproduct of the nuclear reactor. The modern Navy runs on electricity. That's the Navy's position in writing as of this year. And which reactor did they pick for the Defiant? The same one as is in the Gerald Ford, the A1B. So the plant that makes as much power as it does because the Ford class was built around electric launch, electric arresting gear, electric elevators, and headroom for weapons that did not exist yet. So inside one fiscal year, from one Navy, surface warfare is going electric, and the demand is so large, we are putting a carrier reactor into a battleship to meet it. And also take the electric launch system out of the carrier that the reactor was designed for. Which way are we going here? Not sure. So, let's see. Probing time. Nice to see you here. Thanks for making it. So both can't be right. I mean, pure and simple. And the price tag on the other half of that contradiction, the CBO ran the numbers this month. The first Defiance class battle group, hull, is going to cost roughly $23 billion as of 2026. 14 follow-ons averaging about $18 billion. So around $275 billion through 2056 under the 15-ship plan. For comparison, CBO puts each future Ford-class carrier around $22 billion. The battleship costs more than the carrier. Don't know what to tell you. So, and here's the other thing. The nuclear industrial base that would build all of this, okay, the same reactor vendors, dockyards, special workforce that build Virginia-class submarines, including the boats promised to Australia under AUKUS, is already working on its limit. Some would say over its limit. But that's a little subjective. Which is the same problem as the dead steam supply chain that we just got done talking about, running in the opposite direction. So if you want a full audit of the Golden Fleet, the frigates, the destroyer program, basically that would be the glass jaw stream that I've been meaning to do, but I didn't think anyone would be interested in it. But tonight we're just talking about the one data. So let's talk about the deployment ladder. So now that we've talked about the, some of the designs that have been signed in that they want to actually start changing and the costs associated with those, let's talk about the carriers that we do have. So everything we just talked about, assume the Navy has aircraft carriers. Let us check. Okay, let's see. There's 11 of them, all by name right now. You ready for this? Here they are. So this color code is green is deployed, blue is in port, red is in maintenance, and yellow is in training. Now, here's what you need to know about a deployment ladder. Federal law requires 11 nuclear aircraft carriers. We have 11. Now, what does it mean to have 11 carriers? Well, here we go. If you look at this, we have 3 that are deployed. We have the Abraham Lincoln right here, which is in the Persian Gulf, as well as the George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, which is also in the Persian Gulf, and the George Washington, which is currently around Singapore and steaming for the Arabian Gulf. Now, the George Washington is actually forward deployed to Japan, operating in the Western Pacific, where it is one of the highest priorities of the U.S. Navy to maintain a presence. But due to Abraham Lincoln's deployment schedule, they're moving the George Washington into replace Abraham Lincoln, which creates a hole in our coverage. Now, who's home or who's working back up? Well, we have 4 of them. These are let's call these the blue ones, okay? We have the USS Nimitz. She's back at Norfolk since July after circumnavigating South America. She was originally on the West Coast. She is the oldest ship in the fleet. Her service has been extended into 2027 because she was supposed to be decommissioned this year. She will decommission in 2027 as of right now. You have the Dwight D. Eisenhower, who out of a 17-month, just got out of a 17-month incremental availability that finished in April. So she's been on maintenance and what's the other thing? Training, workups. You have the USS Carl Vinson, which is over here on the West Coast. She's based in San Diego, and she just got back from, I believe, RIMPAC, based off of Hawaii, which was a couple months long joint exercise with our allies. And then you have the Teddy Roosevelt here, who went out last weekend for a friends and family cruise and in maintenance or in workups. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm missing a couple here. Let me get caught up. Let's see. If my name was PhD Basil Problem, would you expect out of PhD? Not a topic I'm going to discuss tonight because it's not one of the things. And last time I checked, Adam's name is not PhD Dietrich. How do you know that his P and H are not his first initials? But I digress. So we have 4 that are in maintenance. These are the red ones. Okay. We have the John C. Stennis. It's refueling and a complex overhaul and Newport News in the late stages. Hold on that one. We have the Harry S. Truman, which is sitting at Naval Station Norfolk, waiting to move to Newport News to begin our own 5-year midlife overhaul. We also have the Ronald Reagan. The Ronald Reagan is currently in dry dock. It's on track to finish at the end of this month. And then you had the Gerald R. Ford, which is in Norfolk in a planned incremental availability, which includes repairs to spaces damaged by the March laundry fire. Also, the Ford just got back from deployment. So 11 carriers, 3 deployed. The force planning model assumes roughly a third deployed, a third working up, and a third in maintenance. That's kind of how they have it set up. So on paper, we're kind of close to that. In practice, let's look at what the thirds are made of. So let's start with the Stennis, because Stennis is the whole problem in one hull. Her overhaul was effectively removed her from the force for more than 5 years. Current estimates have her returning to operational status late this year or 2027, which makes it one of the longest carrier overhauls since 2001, being beaten only by the George Washington. Part of the delay, and I promise I'm not making this up, was a damaged steam turbine because it has steam catapults. Now, the part that nobody outside the community knows, Newport News is the only yard in America that actually does what we call RICO. And it does them essentially one at a time, which is why Truman is not in overhaul tonight. It needs the Stennis to move before the Truman can go in. The Truman is parked waiting for a slot. There is a queue for the most important maintenance action in the carrier force, and that queue is basically one deep. And the ship at the front of the line has been there for over 5 years. So that's what 11 carriers actually means. So, but here's the consequence of all this. And I want to attribute rather than assert, because it's not really my analysis. Removing Stennis from the force for 5 years, forces the other carriers to deploy more frequently and stay at sea longer, just to compensate for the loss of one carrier. Those longer deployments drive wear and tear. The wear and tear feed back into maintenance delays everywhere in the fleet. Because even if you're not going in for RICO, when you come back from deployment, after your stand down time and your R&R, you start with maintenance, fixing everything that broke on deployment. Then once all that's done, you start on carrier quals to be qualified to return to operational status. Then once that happens, you go into carrier qualifications to make sure that you have all the certifications you need, whether it's for airframes, whether it's for different evolutions that goes on, like man overboard drills, things of that nature. You have to be properly checked out to get the status to say, I'm active, ready to go back on deployment. So take one of those out and everyone else has to compensate for it. And if you have to compensate with longer deployments, you have more wear and tear. Now you have more to fix. Now your maintenance times are sped up, or they take longer, which takes less time away from the crew and, returning home and having downtime. It's hell. It really is. So when you have higher maintenances, now you start removing more carriers, which extends more deployments. And you can see why this just starts snowballing. Turns into an avalanche very quickly. That is the loop we're dealing with. And Truman is next in line to be caught in it. Because why not? Because once the Stennis comes out, then the Truman goes in. Once the Reagan comes out, we're going to start getting some of these back, but we're also going to start getting these in. Because here's where the loop's going to be fed. The Ford just had a very long deployment from Venezuela to the Persian Gulf, or the Arabian Gulf, excuse me. The Abraham Lincoln's been in the Arabian Gulf for over 250 days, or at sea for over 250 days. George H.W. Bush has been at sea for a deployment. The George Washington just left Japan and was working in the West Pacific for about, I think it was around 30 or 60 days. Now it's going to the Arabian Gulf so the Abraham Lincoln can go home. But now you're going to have the Ford and the Lincoln now going through extended maintenance periods to fix everything that just broke. So when you don't have enough available hulls or ships in the water, you do not send fewer carriers. You keep the ones you have out longer. And this is what it looks like for a record book. Okay. Now pay attention to the counters, because it's kind of like a receipts problem before it becomes a morale problem. And just kind of stick with me here. The USS Midway during the Gulf of Tonkin, it was deployed for 332 days. Per the USNI News Carrier Database, that is the longest deployment for a national tasking since 1964. The USS Nimitz between 2020 and 2021 was spent 341 days away from home, but only 263 of those were deployed once you take out the COVID era shore isolation. Different numbers describing one deployment. Now you have the Abraham Lincoln from April 2019 to January 2020, 295 days. And that stood as the post-Cold War record. Then you have the Gerald R. Ford, which departed Norfolk in 24 June 2025, returned May 2026. 326 days, the longest U.S. carrier deployment since Vietnam. It went through 4 fleet areas: the North Sea, the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, and the Red Sea. 57,713 nautical miles. 23 replenishments at sea, and logged more than 5,760 flight hours and more than 12,000 launches. Now, this is where the receipts problem comes in. You're going to see 3 different Lincoln numbers in 3 different outlets this week, and they're all correct, okay, because they're all counting different things. You have days deployed, consecutive days at sea, and days since the last port visit. Navy officials have put her at 250 consecutive days at sea and 40 days of continuous combat operations in the 5th Fleet. And the gap between the counters is the actual story. She has been deployed longer than she has been at sea, which means that there was a port visit. 1 in Guam, very early in the deployment, and then nothing. 250 consecutive days with no pier, no liberty, no downtime that is not on the ship. The Ford ran longer in total days, but the Ford had Suda Bay Creek and other stops along the way. The Lincoln has not. And the reason why I'm telling you about the counters is because the moment somebody in somewhere says, well, actually it's 259, not 250, I want you to already know why. It's not a gotcha. It's just 3 different clocks. And the distance between them is the part that kind of matters. So here's what the ladder means. The Ford at 326 is the longest since Vietnam. Midway at 332 is the longest since 1964. And if the Lincoln stays out through mid-October, which is quite possible, she does not break the modern record. But she does break the one from Vietnam. Now, here's the thing, though. The Navy's target timeline for deployments is 210 days. That's not my number, that's the Navy's. The Navy's optimized fleet response plan aims for predictable 3-year cycles with a 7-month, 210-day deployment. Admiral Cottle has stated it publicly. Between 2018 and 2022, most deployments hit it. Since October 2023, the service has routinely missed it. And the median length of a U.S.-based carrier deployment has climbed steadily since 2010. So it's not just one unlucky ship, the USS Abraham Lincoln. This is a system that has quietly stopped meeting its own standard and has not adjusted anything except how long it asks people to stay. Now, let's take an aside here. Let's just slow down for a minute, because there's a lot of people who cover the story and they talk about all these numbers and things like that. And the numbers don't mean anything until somebody tells you what a day is. A day is 24 hours, right? Yeah, you're right. But on a ship, it means something a little different. An aircraft carrier does not have a work day. The U.S. Navy does not have a work day. It has a watch rotation. And the rotation doesn't care what day it is. In fact, during most deployments, I never knew what day of the week it was. And to be perfectly fair, we don't have a lot of windows. I didn't know if it was day or night. I just happen to know I worked a night shift. So here's what the actual ship life is like. If you work in the engine room, which we refer to them as snipes because they never see the sun, they are on shifts that are 8 hours on, 8 hours off. If you're part of ship's crew, you're on 12 hours on, 12 hours off, if you can afford that sort of rotation. If you're on operations like flight deck operations, kind of whenever there's flight deck operations, you can be up there 18 hours, you cannot. Typically, they still follow a 12 on, 12 off rotation. But what does 8 or 12 hours off actually mean? Well, that's when you sleep. That's when you eat. That's when you get undressed or dressed for work. That is when you go to the gym. That is when you do anything and everything you need to do on your downtime. And we're talking like the bare minimum of stuff. The training you got to get done for promotions, the training you got to get done for your certifications, the maintenances that you have to do to keep the ship afloat, the cleaning up heads and other aspects of the ship that needs to be cleaned. Because if you're on duty, you can't be doing this stuff. Laundry, any qualifications you're working on. Take all that out. How much of that 8 hours or 12 hours is left, do you think? For me, I mean, I could sleep anywhere. It's something I developed a very good talent for. I maybe got 6 hours a day. You learn to function as best you can. Now, I'm gonna say something here, and I'm gonna qualify it afterwards. Unless you're in port, you do not get days off. Now, let me qualify that. If you had been at sea or you've been working late, like if I was working the night shift, but I was loading aircraft during the day, I'd get what we call late sleepers. I get to sleep in for a couple extra hours, try to recoup some of the sleep that I lost, make it so I'm not a bumbling idiot, tripping over my own 2 feet and being a safety hazard to everybody around me. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can have your sick day has to be you going to medical. There are no days off. That's the thing. Imagine working 12 hours a day every day for 250 days. That's what I want you to actually think about and recognize. Let me take a break here and address something in chat. I don't give a rat's ass who has a PhD or not. And if that's going to be a topic of discussion, I'll just start booting people. I don't give a shit. It's not a conversation we're talking about tonight. So therefore, how about we shut the fuck up? Because I don't want people leaving this just because somebody's blathering about whether or not somebody has a PhD and whether or not they're qualified for it. I don't give a fuck. I have 0 college credits and I can at least speak intelligently about some things. Apparently, no one can. Apparently, there's people here who may or may not have PhDs who can't talk intelligently to an actual human being. So why don't we go that route? I don't give a shit what anyone's actual credits, what their accreditation is. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. If I was having a conversation about relativity, then you know what? Hey, maybe there's some fucking grounds on that. But in the meantime, don't give a shit. In fact, there, I've solved the problem. So let's go back to actually talking what a day is. So that same 12-hour day, let's talk about mine specifically. I got up at 7 a.m. morning local time, or I'm sorry, 7 o'clock at night local time. I worked from 7 to 7, from 1900 hours to 0700 hours. When flight deck started, I was one of only 2 flight deck qualified people. We needed to have 2-person integrity that goes up to the flight deck, and then we had to go load planes. When you're loading 3, 4 squadrons, One person is a lot to ask to go around to all the different planes to make sure that they're loaded and everything else and stay safe. You also have to participate in FOD walkdowns or foreign object damage walkdowns of the flight deck. You also had to do other things that goes into this. Because of that, this is where things go. Your day turns into nights. You don't just work 12 hours, you work 18. You don't just work 18, you work 20. And you're still expected to go back to work the next day. You don't have a day off to go put your feet up and sit in a hammock and drink, beers all day. It does not work this way. What does that do to the crew? Think about what it would do to you as a person working every day, 12 hours a day. And let's just say it's 12 hours a day. What that would do to you over 250 days. And we're talking about this. We're talking about these are the areas in which you live. Oh, are you fucking serious right now? Hold up. Oh, for fuck's sake. Let's just do it this way. Save image as this. Let's look at it like this. This, if you're enlisted, which most of the ship is, this is your personal space. Hey, Holy Hand Grenade, thank you for the 5 Unfortunati gift memberships. They went to some people I don't recognize. Um, Adam, apology accepted. Yeah, these spaces are tight. You're talking about each one of these squares is a foot. So you're talking about 5 feet between two racks. And who knows? They try to break it up to where there's day and nighttime sleep. So somebody, you might have two people in here at nights and the other four are going to be days, but not always. Could you imagine 6 people trying to fit in a 7 foot space by 5 foot space, trying to all get ready and get dressed and everything else? This is your entire personal space is what we call this coffin locker. It is this rack. It is this down here at the bottom where you store your uniforms and your clothes, and you get one of these little ass lockers. That's it. That is your entire vacation away from 5,000 of your closest friends after 250 days. Now, just keep running it forward. Think day 30. Think day 100. Think day 200. Think day 250. Think day what the fuck ever they're going to get up to at this point, because the George Washington's not going to get there for another couple of weeks, probably. We're getting close to day 280, 300. Now, I want you to think about something else. When you're in the Arabian Gulf, in this case, part of this, I don't know what to fucking call it with Iran, a war, police action, what the fuck ever you want to call it. You have combat operations, which means constant general quarters interrupting your sleep, flight operations going on, sorties being flown. And even on days where there's like, I mean, you're talking about drills, maintenances, and they're all run by the same people at the same time as everything else. I mean, the flight deck is one of the most dangerous industrial workplaces on Earth on a good day. And a good day is when everybody slept. Okay, bear that in mind. All right, let's talk about a little bit about logistics now. Now, here's the logistics. I'm going to be simple. Okay. Everybody who's covering this story is reporting what sailors say they do not have. And it's being reported by families to media outlets. The current administration and the Department of Defense are currently saying it's not true. I don't give a shit. Does not bother me one way or the other because I'm sure the truth is somewhere in the middle. What I can explain and what I can talk about is what it takes. Um, well, the one thing that nobody's really talking about is kind of explaining how any of that gets there in the first place. So let's actually talk about this. Because once you understand kind of like the logistics, the reporting stops being a he said, she said, and starts being kind of like basic arithmetic. The supply chain to an aircraft carrier is another ship. Um, let's do this one. Of course, now the picture's not going to load. That's fucking dead ducky. Um, let's do this one. Oh, for fuck's sake! This is getting ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous. All right, let me download it. That's a small one. Let me get a bigger one. Hold on a second. Holy shit! Why is all the images removed? So for things to be delivered to an aircraft carrier, it needs to be either by plane or by boat. For an aircraft carrier, almost all of it is by boat. Let's look at this. Are you going to load? Yeah, here we go. Forgive the low quality, but this is what we're dealing with here. Okay. Now, so here's what we're talking about. We're talking about 5,000 people. Everything they eat, burn, shoot, wear, and fix comes alongside from the Combat Logistics Force, which is this ship right here. Fleet replenishment oilers and dry cargo and ammunition ships, most of them crewed not by sailors, but by civil service mariners working for the military Sea Lift Command. Fuel for the escorts, jet fuel, ordnance, repair parts, food, mail, all of it arrives by rig at sea from a ship steaming alongside the carrier. Just like this up here by rig. And sometimes it's flown over by helicopter from ship to ship as well. You have now, when this is going on, you're not doing flight operations, but you are helping to unload and to unload all the supplies. So even though you might not be working on the flight deck is where everything's coming in from, as well as the hangar deck. So now you're going to be out there carrying boxes and moving them to the storage areas they need to go into. So much for an off day. So the Gerald Ford's 326-day deployment included 23 replenishments at sea, call it one every 2 weeks. That's the heartbeat of a deployment, and everything else in this section runs off of that number. Food, look, anybody who's done this knows the pattern, and it's not a scandal. It's kind of physics and shelf life. We know fresh food goes first, produce, dairy, eggs, bread, all that shit. That's gone in a matter of weeks, not months. No matter how good your reefer spaces are, frozen and dry stores carry the long haul. So between replenishments, the menu degrades on a predictable curve. Right after unrep, everything's fresh and dandy. Getting close to unrep, yeah, It's rough. Um, but it's predictable. And it recovers when the next load comes across, starts up again. But a resupply at sea restores the quantity. It does not restore what a port visit restores, which is a bulk loadout, variety, quality, fresh everything. And that matters more than people think because food that somebody outside the ship cooked and you're eating it not on board the ship. Just do a mental exercise real quick. Look around the room you're in right now. Call that your office space. Now, look at your bed. That is just your bed. That is your bedroom. You have to live between those two spaces for 250 days. Now, granted, you can go to, let's say there's another room with a gym, another room you can at least interact with other human beings and go down and get food, and someone else cooks the food and does the dishes and everything for you. But think about that for a minute. Now, if you go to a resupply, that matters because you're getting local produce, you're getting local foodstuffs. The you're not just restoring quantity, you're restoring quality. Now, the Lincoln has not had that in 250 days. Now, I'm not telling you what's in the reefers tonight. I don't know, and neither does anybody reporting on this. I can tell you where 250 consecutive days without a pier puts a ship on that curve, and you can do the rest of the math yourselves. Here's the thing. There's a Navy tradition that if you're at sea for longer than 30 days consecutive, you get 2 beers and you have what we call a still beach picnic. They've had almost 10 of those. I mean, they've had 8 of those already, but they haven't had them. Now, beer is the end of the world? No, it's not. But that just gives you something that's a milestone that you cross, and it does not cross often. My 2 deployments, we never came near that. The most we came was, no, actually, we did come close. We came 29 days, but it was a long 29 days. I can't begin to fathom what 250 days feels like. So this is the piece that's missing from every article that I've read this week, and they're in a combat zone. Replenishment is not a logistical event as it would be in the middle of the Indian Ocean or Pacific Ocean. It's now a tactical one, because when you're tied up next to one of these ships, yes, you have air cover. Yes, you have your strike group around you. You're still a sitting duck. We practice what's called emergency breakaways, where we sound the alarm. I was on a diesel ship, so we were actually getting these big black hoses of diesel coming across. It's called cutting hoses. You disengage the hoses, you send them back across the line, you disconnect all the lines, and in the meantime, you're starting to spare away from each other. And what we call emergency breakaway to get us back into fighting stance as quickly as possible. So to take on the stores, you put both ships alongside each other at close range, match course, match speed, physically connected by rope lines and wire lines for hours, not minutes. And during that evolution, you are less maneuverable, more predictable, and tied to another ship. You are the most vulnerable that you could possibly be at that time. But that's the posture you accept when the threat picture allows it. So in the Red Sea or in the Arabian Sea with a drone or missile threat, you do not replenish on a calendar. You replenish when you're available. Um, so you replenish in whatever window the enemy gives you, which means the resupply schedule that determines what 5,000 people eat is partly being written by somebody else. Surprise. And then the force that does the replenishing is under the same strain as the force being replenished. The Marine Sea Lift Command has a documented and long running civil service mariner shortage, roughly 5,500 mariners filling billets against a requirement that outside experts have put closer to 10,000. You're doing it with half the force. The Navy has sideline support ships specifically to free up crews for higher priority hulls. So when you're underway and you do an underway replenishment, it's not a delivery, it's not Amazon. It's an all hands evolution that lands on top of the watch that you were already standing. It's working parties, it's stores strike down, it's the hours, who gets volunteered, who doesn't get volunteered, and what it does to a rotation that was already full. That's the detail it's missing. A galley running around the clock across every rotation and what mid-rats actually is. I mean, look, morning breakfast was pretty much a given. Some form of eggs, some form of meat, something like your typical breakfast, right? Lunch could be a matter of anything. Dinner, it could be anything from, I shit you not, steak and lobster, which only happened twice during my deployments, to, I mean, let's be honest here, a step above Chef Boyardee. And if you're on mid rats, or we call midnight rations, um, it's not exactly leftovers, but it's kind of like leftovers. It's the way it goes. So, and there's one more point I want you to walk away with here, and because it's kind of like the most misunderstood about carrier operations is you will see a day in the news where there's no strikes or flown, or like there's no flight ops being flown, or there's no active bombing strikes being done against Iran, right? They're negotiating or whatever they want to call it. Here's the problem with that, though. You might assume it's a quiet day. It's not. It's absolutely not. Nobody stands down and takes a day off. Um, the bubble does not switch off. Defensive counter air is flying. You're still doing flight ops. You still have alert fighters. You still have AWACS. You still have scout planes and anti-submarine, events going on. Just because you're not actively bombing another country does not mean you're not doing anything. So it's not a down day. You're still doing launches, you're still doing recoveries, you're still standing your watch, and you're still doing your work. Maybe the tempo might slow overall in comparison to the days, weeks, or months before that, but it's a small reprieve. So one more thing that kind of goes up, you have what we call park planes on the ship. And as less and less parts are being delivered for more and more repairs, you start cannibalizing. And now your operational capabilities go down because you're cannibalizing one part for another plane. And you're basically saying, well, we started with 6 E2 Hawkeyes or 8 E2 Hawkeyes, we're down to 4 because they've either been cannibalized or they're irreparable now until something gets delivered, or you're just cannibalizing the shit to keep something aloft, something to keep coverage. So let's go real quick into the mission, and we're gonna go into a couple other things. Actually, we're gonna. So that's kind of like where we stand on that. So that's what 250 days looks like. This is what they're dealing with. This is everything else. Now we already talked about like the idea of changing out the email system with Steam and how that's going to be a costly endeavor, if not a foolhardy one. What's the next one? Oh, well, apparently, um, oh, by the way, one of the reasons why refueling or resupplying the ships is so difficult is because the warehousing in Bahrain was one of the first targets that were hit by Iran in their drones and missiles. So now Diego Garcia is the logistical hub after Iran damaged the base in Bahrain. For those who don't know, there's Diego Garcia. It's just as far to the Persian Gulf as it is almost to Singapore or Australia. Kind of creates problems. So, um, I'm trying to. Oh, so the third story, as if shit wasn't, fucked up enough. Here's the third story. Um, so this is a story that's under review. Okay, this is a study. And the study is, it's been reported, not necessarily directed. However, if it's a study that's ongoing, it's going to cost money. The U.S. Navy is reportedly evaluating a major costly redesign for its newest class of aircraft carriers to align with Donald Trump's aesthetic preferences. 7 current and former U.S. officials familiar with the matter told the Washington Post that the service was reviewing whether it could relocate the multi-story command center known as the Island further forward toward the middle of the ship versus the rear of the ship. The review comes in response to concerns raised by Trump regarding the appearance of the Ford-class carriers, where the tower is currently positioned closer to the stern. What does this mean exactly? Well, um, let's actually talk about what this is going to look like, shall we? This right here, this top one right here is the George H.W. Bush. This one is the Gerald Ford. Okay. Now, there's a couple things I want to point out specifically so you understand. We have these darker squares. These are the elevators that come up from the hangar bay up here to the flight deck. These lines going across here are your arresting cables. These dotted lines going through here. This is your landing zone, landing area. This is catapult 4. This is catapult 4. This is catapult 3. This is catapult 2. This is catapult 1. Now, here's the Ford. The Ford only has 3 elevators, specifically, but it has much more area parking in the front and in front of the island than it did previously. This dotted line that you see right here, this is called a foul line. Nothing can be parked over this line during a landing evolution. Now, you can actually launch and land aircraft at the same time. If you're using the front catapults, and you can land aircraft and launch aircraft at the same time. Okay, just to understand kind of like where is this. So the they understand why moving the island from its current location here, or in the previous generation here, to something more like World War II, which is here. You have to understand kind of why the modern flight deck is shaped the way it is. The shape isn't like some decoration, it was actually a solution to a lethal problem. In World War II, carriers had straight decks. That's what we just saw. Um, you parked aft here, way back here, to launch forward, and you park forward to land aft. So everything was sequential. So you parked back here to take off, and as you landed, you parked it here. Everything was sequential. It was bottlenecked, and it worked because propeller aircraft landed slowly. It's simple. But then came jets. A jet arrives faster and carries vastly more kinetic energy. And on a straight deck, a pilot who missed the wire, it's what we call a bolter, plowed through the crash barricade and into the decks, uh, and into a deck park full of fueled armed aircraft. So if he's coming in landing, misses the wire, runs through the barricade, and basically crashes into all the planes that were parked in the front, you have now lost an entire air wing on a Tuesday. Kind of a problem. Coincidentally, the fix came from the Royal Navy. Captain Dennis Campbell proposed it in 1951. It went to sea for trials in 1952, and Louis Bonington at the Royal Aircraft Establishment is generally credited alongside him. What did they do? Well, paint the landing area diagonally across the deck, angled about 9 degrees off of port. That's the whole invention. Painting the decks to change the landing area. Now, obviously, you widen the deck, but same thing. Two problems were solved at once. Miss the wire, go full throttle, and you go off the waste cats, and you come around for another try. Simple. Um, a, a bolter becomes routine. It happens. The deck is pitching up and down, weather, wind shear, all that kind of stuff kind of interacts with it all at once as it's trying to land on something that's moving. It happens. Not very often, but it happens. But now when it happens, you don't destroy an entire air wing. You just fly off the edge of the deck, go to full power, fly off the edge of the deck, go back around, try again. No harm, no foul. Now the second, and because the landing area no longer overlaps the bow, you can now launch off the forward catapults while simultaneously recovering aircraft. You increase the number of sorties that you can fly at any given time. It's no longer sequential. You can do both at the same time. One change allowed both problems to go away and increase the efficiency of an aircraft carrier thousands-fold, hundreds-fold. Now, you turned it from a sequential problem or a sequential operation into a parallel one. You can do them both at the same time. Keep in mind that. Now, the landing area runs off the port. So now we have the island. It's on starboard. So why is the island always on starboard? Well, the usual answer that you can look up, I had a hard time finding actual like empirical evidence for this. Excuse me. So take it with a grain of salt. Early aircraft, earlier carrier aircraft had big front-mounted propellers. So torque, slipstream, P factor, asymmetric blade thrust at high angle of attack, all pull the nose left at low speed and high power. So pilot going around or losing it on rollout would statistically be going left. But the tower on the right and the out of control airplane departs into the water instead of through the bridge, which would be problematic. But torque is like maybe one factor out of several, and that's the sole cause. Yeah. There's also a plain seamanship reason. Ships pass port to port under the rules of the road. Um, stay right. um, and a conning position to starboard helps this. Um, but I mean, both. I mean, look, it's not about trivia. It's about it's a precedent. Okay. There are exactly two carriers in history that were completed with the island on the port side: the Japanese Akagi and Hairu. Uh, People bring them up as a curiosity. Um, that framing kind of misses what happens, and what actually happened is kind of like directly on point. In the 1930s, the Japanese were running design studies on island placement because, well, everybody was. And nobody had settled this yet. So one of those studies concluded an island position toward the middle of the flight deck would be better. Akagi's modernization and uh, uh, Hiryu's construction were built to that conclusion. The reason it ended up being to port is prosaic. The boiler uptakes occupied that position on the starboard side, and rather than pay to retrunk them during the severe budget pressure of wartime, they put the island on the other side. And then they went to sea. And the result was turbulence that interfered with landings and complaints from the flight crews. So after discussions that included combat pilots, the earlier arrangement was judged better. They were too far along to fix, but the next class, the Shokaku class, was placed the exact same way as you see now, which is on the right, on the starboard side, um, and the position was changed before they built it. So somebody moved the Care Island towards the middle of the flight deck, and the pilots reported turbulence on landing. A Navy reverted on the very next class. The experiment's already been run, and they wrote down the answer. Moving an island, even a smaller island, from the back to even here or further up to here. Oh, Jesus. Well, what causes that? As the wind is coming across the deck and going past the island creates a turbulent airflow. As you see, when it's parallel to the deck or parallel to the landing gear, most of it trails off the back end of the ship. Even when it's ahead of this, you can create turbulence that comes into this towards part of this. You move it even further up, and turbulence becomes even more haphazard. You're talking about landing a jet on a platform that's moving, pitching, and rolling in waves up to 30 feet high, and you want to make it harder. You want to take 80 years of lessons learned and engineering improvements and throw them out the window to go back to World War II type designs for aesthetics. Yeah, sure. By the way, you're also going to lose out on all this parking you have right through here, because if you take away this now you're going to have parking back here and parking up here, which means that you're not going to be doing parallel anymore, because if you have a plane back here, the only way to get it up to the front catapults is to foul the deck and put it in line. Versus the extra room that you have in here, what we used to call the six pack, you now have more room. Not hard. Eh, yeah, dude, you're right about that, but they're also having a problem with the power plant and everything else. So they wanted to they decided to move it. Then they turned around and came back. So yeah, that's a fucking terrible idea. And that 80 years of lessons learned you want to throw out the window because of how it fucking looks. So the ship's air wake, the disturbed air behind the island, okay. Um, there'll be studies on this. There'll be engineers who do that. There'll be pilots who give their input on this. They are all largely more qualified than I am. However, from my own engineering point of view, my own experience point of view, moving the island forward so that the turbulent air has a propensity to cross the deck creates problems. Because when you're lining up to do this landing, you're not lining up just on the back of the deck here to point right down the middle of it. You're pointing off to an angle, which means the turbulent air is coming this way, which is crossing your flight path. Hopefully, it's flying, it's creating turbulent air below your flight path and doesn't affect you. However, if you move it here, it's going to stay on the deck, and that's going to create problems. So if you move your island to say here, it's going to create more turbulent air. Could let me preface it. It could create more turbulent air because we don't know what the shape of the island is going to be. We don't know the aerodynamics of it. We don't know anything except that they want to think about moving this up for aesthetics. Fine. If you move it up here and you keep something similar, your turbulent air stays on the deck and crosses the landing path. Could. That's all I'm going to say. Why make a difficult evolution even harder? So the other problem is an aircraft carrier is measured by how many sorties it puts on. How many sorties you can put on is dependent on bottlenecks, things like parking. If you're landing planes here and bringing them off the flight line and bringing them back here to park and everything else, and you're parking most of them over here because helicopters usually sit back over here on this side here, and you can still launch aircraft off the front, bringing them up from the hangars and packing them in through here. You can still land them, put them on the hangars, take them down, or refuel them, chalk them down, whatever you want to do. Um, yeah, you you have a lot of area to build off of because the island sits so far back. And to be honest, look, it looks like a Corvette as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's got a long ass nose, but it's still pretty lethal. And if you create choke points where you have to foul the deck to move a plane from elevator 3 or elevator 4 to bring them up top, that creates problems. This is much more efficient. Now, the Ford was based off of a 30% increase in sorties comparable to a Nimitz class. I haven't seen the actual numbers yet. I don't think they're going to hit 30. They might hit 20, but even then, a carrier is only good as many planes they can put up in the air and how many people it can recover. And as we can see, the island has progressively moved further and further back. So we have it amidships here. It's amidships here. And then we go to the Kitty Hawk was a little bit forward more. It was like right around here. Then you have the Nimitz class here. And then you have the Ford class here. Why do they keep moving back? It's not difficult to see. So, real quick, let's talk about what this is going to cost. The review did not appear out of nowhere 2 days ago. This originally started back in May. USNI reported that the carrier design was already under review and that the Navy saying it would construct a detailed analysis of the optimal procurement and construction approach for the USN 82 once the review was complete. It was a budget document basically 3 months ago. So, but after that came this aesthetic bullshit. Um, Now, this again, moving the island forward is like the steam catapult. It, it's it's not like a modification. It's a fucking huge redesign. Because think about what goes on the island: radar, communications, um, uh, and everything below it on the third deck. Because now you're talking about like where the hole in the deck to go below deck is. It's now further aft. You're going to move it back up here. You're going to move it. You have 3 elevators. You're going to bring back a 4th elevator now. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, there's questions that need to be answered. Um, and the Navy, obviously was already looking at this as far as a construction standpoint, trying to standardize, trying to maybe decrease costs, try to do a bunch of other things that might be able to help it as a whole. But then yet this happens. So let's keep kind of like a scale in view here. So the Kennedy is in sea trials. The Enterprise and Doris Miller are under construction. The plan runs to as many as 10 holes over 40 years, with CBO putting each future carrier around $22 billion. Ford herself took 17 years to reach the fleet because of some of the problems. This is a program already carrying chronic delays, maintenance backlog, and readiness problems. And the readiness problems we spent talking about earlier, because we only have 3 carriers, and when you have a nuclear, your midlife reco is basically 5 years long. There is nothing easy about an aircraft carrier, not even turning it. Now, I want to end this fairly, and because I would rather be right than satisfying, as much as I'd love to throw everybody associated with this under a fucking bus. This original memorandum is not all bad. If you strip out the section with the catapults, there's actually like a real philosophy worth taking seriously. Design stability before construction starts. No changes after a certain point. Proven systems over immature ones. Accountability for bureaucratic delays. Expanded industrial capacity. Faster shipbuilding. Decades of programs arriving late, over budget, and burdened with technology that was not ready. That critique has teeth and it's earned its place. The Gerald Ford earned it, without a doubt. The weapons elevators alone were like a years long embarrassment. If you want to argue that the Navy should stop putting immature technology on lead ships, I'll hand you the microphone. I'll probably agree with you. It's a good argument. It's definitely not a bad argument. It is also word for word the argument against a nuclear battleship with this same memorandum is building. Again, the contradiction. But that is not what these decisions are. Ripping out a system that is now working at nearly half production on the one hole where it's still physically possible. That's not design stability that they were calling for. It's a late stage design change that they are trying to prevent on a ship under construction, which is the exact disease the memorandum says it is curing, as well as the cost. And the island move is worse. I don't know how to make this more apparent, because there's no engineering claim behind it at all. It's about how it looks. And it's one person's subjective opinion of how it looks. There's no performance arguments. There's no cost argument. It's a preference for how a warship looks compared to photographs from 1944. So where does this all take it? What was this? I don't know how many how long we've been doing this now. What has this 2-hour rant been about? Simple. We do not build carriers to look like they fought on Midway at Midway. We build them to launch, recover, and survive. And to bring 5,000 people home on schedule. The angled deck, the starboard island, the aft island, the electric catapult, every one of those exists because somebody found out the hard way what happens when you get it wrong. The Japanese found out about the amidships island in the 1930s and wrote it down. The Royal Navy found out about the straight deck in the jet age and wrote it down. The whole point of writing it down is so you don't have to find out again. And there's one more thing written down in real time by about 5,000 people in the Arabian Sea on day 260 something. And I would like somebody to read that one before we spend another $1 billion on the way the ship looks. Besides the maintenance costs, besides the build costs, there is a human cost at being at sea for an extended period of times. And anyone who's done sea time, regardless of what capacity, merchant marine, sailboat, anyone who's done an extensive amount of time at sea, or even an extensive amount of time in a confined area, knows what this is like. To say it fucks with your head is a gross understatement. There is a mental health crisis going on right now on the Abraham Lincoln. And the way that they're trying to do this is, well, you're there now. It's not that bad. Help is coming. Just wait a little longer. By the way, when help gets there, you still got to go home. It's still going to take you 2 months, a month and a half. Yeah, the end's in sight. But is the light at the end of the tail a fucking uh locomotive engine coming towards your, your mental health crisis as people are throwing themselves overboard? Or is it an actual light at the end of the tunnel that's going to help people get back to being normal? That's the question. So that's my TED talk on naval architecture and why people say stupid fucking things and why it pisses me off. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope there was something valuable from it that you could learn and that you gleaned from it. I hope you all are not picking on who was getting picked on again? On the 11. um that's this one. The reason why I want to do this because it started to annoy me and I started reading articles and it started pissing me off. And you guys have known me by now that I'm passionate about a certain things, and I will use my my small platform to yell into the void if I have to. Don't care. Um, there are 30 people watching right now, roughly, right? Or there was 30, now there's 27. This is something I care about immensely. Being at sea is not, it's not conducive to mental health. It's difficult. And yeah, you know what? It's okay to suck it up for 6 months because you have port calls and you get to see countries you don't get a chance to see. And you're doing some cool things that you're not able to do. And the Navy's taking care of you at that time. The deliveries are predictable. The food quality is predictable. But you go and the Navy is trying to wage a pseudo war on two fronts. Maintain a presence in the Western Pacific to check China, and at the same time, be in the Arabian Gulf fighting a war, for sake of another word. You have two carriers and a lightning carrier, as we call it, a Marine Corps lightning carrier in the Gulf right now. You have one more on the way. That's three. 3 out of 11 in one area of responsibility. Not cool. And what's the Navy going to do? How is it going to replenish, or how's it going to backfill the George Washington from leaving Japan and the Western Pacific? Fuck if I know. Hold on, let's look at the picture again. I guess the Carl Vinson can go back out. Maybe the Ronald Reagan will hurry up and get done and go out. I don't fucking know. There is no easy answer. I guess you could use the USS Tripoli and out of Sasebo, which is a lightning carrier. I don't know. Oh, we have to pick on the 11 because I booted Basil. I didn't boot him. I just muted him for I put him in timeout because I saw the chat and I saw what it was about, and to me it was a childish. It's the same childish fucking rants Basil always does, and it's never been entertaining to me. It never has. And to do it and to send a super chat to ask me a question about what I thought about a PhD, and I tell you it's not fucking the topic of tonight, so I could care less, and to keep doing it, now my patience is drawn. And I'll fucking rip. I don't care. Great. He gave me what, 3 or 4 super chats? Thanks, Basil. Don't give a shit. I don't do this for the money. I don't do it for clout. I don't do it for anything. It's a fucking hobby. I find it entertaining. I like interacting with chat. I like hanging out with you guys. I like going over cool things. I like being able to teach somebody something new they didn't know about. I like going over dirt. Yes, I may have a problem. Yes, he has a PhD in pettiness. I would agree. Here's my thing. I have 0 fucking college credits. I don't know what goes into getting a PhD, but I could fucking care less. None of that had to do with anything we were talking about tonight. And the other thing I was talking about tonight, I wasn't going to be going into math and the Coulomb's law and all these other shit either, because no one wants to see that bullshit. I can still rip it apart rhetorically and from a high level without going into the actual fucking math. And I'm sure Basil would have loved that. And he probably would have corrected all the math I would have tried to have done. Not my forte. But I can rip it in the sense that, you know what, you guys are making some pretty fucking heady claims there and making some leaps of faith that, while they might be necessary to push the envelope of physics, you better back it up one way or the other. Yeah, we all have a problem then. Absolutely. No, 11. I don't have a problem with that. Look, Basil is not a mod for a reason. You guys are mods. You guys know my stance on assholes. If a flurf is being an asshole, aka Dick Wayne, not answering questions and not providing any evidence and just spouting off stupid shit, if that's like Gladiator, I am Legend, lifting the veil from TikTok earlier today, Dick Wayne, or that fucking, what was that other guy, Semper Fish? By all means, play whack-a-mole. Ask for permission first if you want. That's fine. You guys know where my tolerances stand. You guys have modding privileges for a reason. Have fun. I don't give a shit. But you all know me enough to know that I don't stand for bullshit and pettiness and stuff like that. Let's be fair. I like being the asshole in the room. I don't want to share the credit with anybody. How's that? That should make it clear. Dragon Sword with the 8 Australian dollars. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Have a drink. Abso-fucking-lutely. You know what? Let's pour another drink. Cheers. You know what? I'm not even going to put Pepsi in that one. Uh, so, do you guys want to talk? I mean, let's put it this way. I kind of finished my TED talk. You guys are welcome to. We can hang out, talk about other things. We can talk about stupid shit. We can talk about other dumb shit. We can talk about Cape Bay. We can talk about how I want to shit all over Flurfs while I'm down there in New Jersey. We can talk about nothing. We can talk about other derp, other videos you want to watch. You want me to talk about Roger and his stupid fucking group? I can do that. Whatever you guys would like. We are open to questions. Call this the Q&A and chat drive segment. Yeah, you know what? My bladder needs a break too. Let's play a quick song. And since I didn't start with it, we're going to go ahead and play. Okay. Thank you, Tay, if you're in here. I was fucking around with Whatcast earlier today. I was asking Whatcast where he was going for holiday, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to York." I'm like, "Oh, you're going to York, and I'm going to Jersey." He goes, "Wait, New Jersey or actual Jersey?" I'm like, "New Jersey." Are you going to New York or actual New York? So we do stupid shit in DMs. What can I say? All right. So since I didn't play it, I'm going to put you guys on hold. I'm going to, or not on hold. I'm going to play. We're going to play Major Dumb to Flurf Control, and I'm going to get up and use the restroom. If I ever do stream again, you can be the asshole in my chat. Thank you, CSA. I appreciate that. To be fair, I had a few drinks tonight and would never use modding privileges while tipsy. That's very responsible at 11, and I appreciate that. However, I use my modding privileges while tipsy, and I make no apologies for it. But you're a better man than I am. Yeah, Roger has gone off the deep end a little bit. We'll come back in a second. Let's play this. Yeah, let's play. You guys want to listen to? I can play any number of songs. We got Yo Ho Ho. We got the Sea Shanty of Unfornicated. We have the alt rock. We have the Misinformation Anthem. I did a fast punk version. Not a big fan of that one. We have another blues version, or we can do Major Dumb to Flurf Control. Sea Shanty seems on topic. Okay, cool. We'll go that route. I don't have a female vocal version. I should have, actually. All right, here we go. We're gonna go with. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do Yo Ho Ho, because I am gonna have to go cut my drink before I end up on the floor. We're gonna do a nature break, and if this song, I'm going to put Major Dumb in queue, so in case it runs over. How's that?
Yo ho, a pirate type bully.
Yo, Aquaman chillin' with the fishes. Think you're smarter than a Flurf with your physics. It's slow, you're damn right, brains overflowing. Plus, let's be honest, that charisma showing. And you're damn sexy with that fluffy white hair. Oh, wait a minute, hold up, that's a CC wig, I swear. CC's your best shit, DC's like Fox. You tricking all the landlubbers with your visual coup.
You see my business, telecom, science galore, but your jokes straight from the gutter's dirty floor. Got a sharp mind and a wicked tongue, making us laugh till our stomachs hung. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Dan's at the helm, gonna brighten up our day. hearties, yo ho.
Gave us a home when Mike ditched us in the lurch. You're the architect of awesome, standing tall as a church. Oh, the ladies are dying to see you in your uniform, sailor. Got 'em weak in the knees, a scientific Baylor.
And the boys are green with envy, a jealous bird ain't you. Cause you're packing brains and humor, it's undeniably true. You see more business, telecom, science galore, but your jokes straight from the gutter's dirty floor. Got a sharp mind and a wicked tongue, making us laugh till our stomachs hung. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Dan's at the helm, gonna brighten up our day. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. With Dan at the wheel, we're happily led astray. Drink up me hearties, yo ho.
You coined our name, Zoo Crew, a motley, horny team. With you as our captain, we're weathering every stream.
From understanding radio waves
To sinking pints of beer, you're the best damn zookeeper, and crazy as fuck, oh dear.
anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Dan's at the helm, gonna brighten up our day. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. With Dan at the wheel, we're happily led astray. Drink up me hearties, yo ho.
Rims and flowing seas, Dan, don't spit another pun. And remember that CC wig makes you number one. Zoo Crew forever, drink to the foam.
Anchors away,
Happy voyage, Dan, until we meet again another day.
yo ho, a pirate typhoon.
Control to Major Dumb. Come in from your room. We've checked the feeds, we've checked the memes. This launch is a cartoon. Flurf control to Major Dumb. Your rocket's just a balloon. They filmed you in a warehouse. There's no rocket ship, there's no big plume. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Major Dumb to Flurf control. I'm strapped in, feel the shake. The tower falls away from me. You can't fake this quake. Major Dumb to Flurf control. I'm way above your room, rising through the blue so fast it turns to velvet soon. You say it's all projection, but the windows say you're wrong. I'm floating past your story, and it's been wrong all along. Major Dumb, our charts all show you splashed into the sea. They dropped a capsule from a plane. You're still on Odyssey. Flurf control. I hate to break it, your script is out of date. The engine's burned, the booster's turned. I watch the coastline fade. You talk about a snow globe sky, a ceiling painted cold, but I just watched horizons curve in every shade of gold. Major Dumb to Flurf control. The world's a swirling sphere. Clouds wrap round in lazy bands from pole to stratosphere. You say it's just a clever CGI veneer, but your world's become an island, and it's really, really small from here. You said there is a crystal shell, a cover hard and bright. I'm flying where your ceiling sits, yet nothing blocks the light. No glass, no grid, no glowing dome, just darkness deep and clear. Your dome was in your browser tabs, Flare control to Major Tom. Our live chat says the pictures are all lies. Agencies just sell us tales. They're demons in disguise. Major Tom to flare control. Your fears are getting loud, but I'm looking at an ocean that wraps behind a cloud. If stories had you cornered, I'm not here to shout you down, just asking you to tilt your head and spin that view around. Major Tom to flare control. I'm circling slow and clear. I see the night chase after day around this shining sphere. You swore there'd be an edge, a wall where colors stop, but every orbit proves you wrong. We're living on a drop. Flare control to Major Dumb. Your signal's getting thin. If space is real, if globe is true, where do our stories spin? This is Major Dumb to flare control. I'll bring you souvenirs around Blue Earth in every shot, and maybe calm your fears. Flare control to Major Dumb. Flare control to Major Dumb. Are you there?
All right. I figured I might as well let it play out. Hopefully none of you guys left. I needed a minute because I needed to actually cut that drink, and I forgot the shanty isn't very long, so I had to open the door for the dog so she can go out on the balcony and quit growling in here at random noises. Also realized I was using the wrong microphone during the entire part of that, so hopefully the audio wasn't shit. Um, well, we got a bunch of questions now. So let's go through these. Holy Hand Grenade said, I would feel as you would be a good person to tour the carrier in San Diego with. You forgot the name. Sorry, I'm Canadian. Yeah. So that's called the USS Midway, actually. And funny thing about that. So you can do a self-guided audio tour. And my cousin who I grew up with, he's 4 years younger than me. He is a university professor for math. We were down there visiting family, and we decided to take a tour. I believe Olivia was, I think she was like 6, I want to say, maybe. Hold on. Let's see. So we went down there. It's photos, not pictures. Okay, so we were down there. Let's see. A lot of, I thought I had more pictures than that, but I guess not. So we were down there watching. We went down to go and tour the Midway. I'm sorry, I was doing 3 things at once. My brain can't handle it. So we were doing 3 things at once, and we went and saw the Midway. And we decided not to take the audio tour since it was very similar to the ship I was on, and Olivia was about 6. And so this was a picture from the pier. We actually did that. Now, while we were doing that, I was telling my cousin, who whose dad was also on the sister ship of the Kitty Hawk, the Constellation. He was he was an air traffic controller, and but my cousin was very, very young at the time, so he doesn't remember any of that time. So I wanted to bring Olivia down to see this and kind of show her what I did. And my cousin was like, "Hey, I'll come along too." So it was cool, nice to hang out. So we went and saw this, and while we were walking around, people had audio things. Well, they started hearing me tell some of the stories about the hangar deck and the berthing areas and stuff like that. And this group of 8 people with their headphones on took their headphones off, and they asked, "Can we just follow you around because you're doing a better job explaining this than the audio tour guide is?" So I had a group of 10 follow me around the entire carrier as we went to different groups and different areas and stuff like that and different ships. And the funny thing is, because of my love of history and my family history of being in the Navy, I could tell them things about like the A4 Skyhawk and the F4 Phantom and the F-18 and the F-14. Um, let's see, we had the Sea Sprite, SH-60, and I believe there was an S3 in there and stuff like that. So it was actually pretty cool. And in one of the pictures I have of Olivia is her being a shooter and launching a plane off the deck. So she thought she was very proud of herself for doing that. So one of our jobs when we're in port is we're ambassadors. We actually provide tour guides to people who want to see the ship. So if you ever have a ship, regardless of what ship it is, that comes into port near you, sorry, Holy Hand Grenade, I don't think any are going to make it into Saskatchewan, um, regardless if it's as flat as water or not. But if you are anywhere and you want to do a tour, and it's an active military ship, they will do tours for you. So, Garden Kitten as a member for 6 months. Hello, Garden Kitten. Thank you. Um, but you can take tours. So when you're in port, you have a duty shuffle, right? So you work for 24 hours a day, and then you have the right, and then you have the other days off. So like if you're in for, we have 5 duty sections. So if you're there for 5 days, you only have to work one day. Now, I always took the first day in because A, you always had to wear your uniform, and B, by the time you got off the boat, depending where you were, you already missed half the day anyway. So if I'm going to miss half the day, I might as well be working the whole time. Could care less. You don't have to work the full 24 hours. You can sleep during it, but you are the skeleton crew in case the ship has to get underway. You have the bare minimum amount of people to get the ship underway before everyone else can be flown out. That's how it works. But one of the duties while I was on duty station was not only sitting in my office, which really you're not doing much intel collecting when you're in Port Australia, so to speak. However, you have other things to do, which was giving tours to wherever you were at, and it was highly enjoyable. It was one of my favorite things to do. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Um, have I relaxed after meeting loves the sound of his own voice, Dearth? Yes. I have recovered well from that. Um, I was laughing for 3 days straight. Every time I heard the audio, I was laughing. Do we have a Globe Lab song yet? We haven't picked one yet, but we do have a Globe Lab song, actually. And it's actually a really good one. So I might play that here soon. I should have played that one. That would have been cool. No, you do not get tips. No, no tips allowed. Oh, you mean for the civilian one when I was a civilian? No, I didn't get tips. I got thank yous, and they said that they learned a lot, which to me means more than anything else. But no, it was great. I mean, I felt pretty good that they wanted to follow me because I knew more than the audio one. I guess firsthand knowledge, like actual stories of what it was like. I guess I don't know, but it was enjoyable. Um, yeah, no ships will get there. Sorry. Are they pictures, not cartoons? No, they're actually pictures here. No, it was a great, I love showing Olivia this too, because obviously the ships, if you haven't been around a carrier, they are big, really big. There's a lot of walking involved. And Olivia was a trooper. She did almost all of it herself. I only had to carry her when when we got done with the flight deck, and I told her that we now had to climb all the way down to get back on the pier and then walk to the car. Um, she asked at 6 to make a deal. This is why I kind of figured she's going to be a lawyer. She asked, "Can I walk down the stairs and then you can carry me to the car?" And I'm like, "Sure, we can do that." So my cousin and I carried her to the car, taking turns putting her on our shoulders. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, Olivia at 6. I'm guessing 5 or 6 is around that time frame. But yeah, she loved all the little mannequins and stuff like that. It was pretty funny. Lead photo from the Nimitz. They made Dougal. They're going to eliminate catapults entirely because we're going with this. That's the F-47 fighter, folks. I like it. That's funny. Good stuff. Um, yeah, so mine wasn't actually in Vancouver. We were in well, let's see, we were in Bremerton and we were also in Everett. So we were in Everett, Washington, for I think 2 or 3 days. And again, duty day, first day. And then I ran up to Vancouver and spent 2 days in Vancouver. So that was fun. Saucer class. Yeah, exactly. Um, they so they don't normally make it there, CSA, because well, hold on here. Let me just so outside of like joint exercises or things like that nature, um the ship is basically on its way to where it needs to be on station. So if we're delegated to be on station in oh look, I got my cousin's address hearted. Whoops. um uh so we like when they leave from Virginia, they're basically like either cutting straight across or they're going up. And they're going up like up here. So yeah, they could stop, but it's like 2 day sail, maybe. Um, you're just getting on their way. Everyone's still getting their sea legs, so they probably won't stop very much. Your best bet, and I hate to say it this way, would be going to New York City for Fleet Week. You can tour. I don't know. This year was special for 250. I think they had 8 different classes of ships you could tour. It was unreal. Yeah, I loved Vancouver. Vancouver is one of my favorite places to go. If I had to say, and I've been to Vancouver previously because I had an aunt who was a nun and lived in Victoria. So you could catch the ferry to Victoria from Vancouver or from Port Angeles in Washington. So my mom, my sister, and I drove up from San Diego all the way up Route 5, all the way to Victoria or to Port Angeles, then to Victoria. Then we hung out in Victoria or near Victoria with my aunt for a week. And then we came back through Canada and then drove back down through Seattle and stuff like that. But the Seattle, Vancouver area was one of my favorites to go to. Australia was one of my favorites to go to. Hawaii is on that list. Japan was interesting in its own right. I'll say that. South Korea, if I don't go back there again, no harm, no foul. I enjoyed it. I didn't not enjoy it. Thailand, not really. No, not high on my list of places to go anymore. Singapore was fun. Not really looking to go back. And Not really looking to go back to anywhere in this general vicinity ever again, to be perfectly honest. The med side maybe, but, around the Arabian Gulf, no, I think I'll pass. I didn't know who Mark Sargent was at the time, Steel City, because I was doing stupid shit. Oh, the 11 signed up for prefect. Ah, the 11, you know what that gets you? That gets you not only a discount on Unfortunati gear, which I'm going to show. Hold on, let me transition it because it has its own special link. But you also get access to my Google Drive if you want my debunks and stuff like that too, which I am working on to expand. Bear with me. I'm trying. Uh, let's see. Uh, I got to log into Fourth Wall because, for fuck's sake. I'm always on this computer. Quit logging me out. Um, let's see. Go to my dashboard. Oh my God. I got to sign in again after going to my dashboard. Really? Okay. Go to products, go to collections, go to the Unfortunati, go to that. Oh, cool. There you go. Now, everyone who's a member gets access to this. So we have our blackout gear, which is basically a blacked out t-shirt with a red eye on the back with the Unfortunati logo. And also on the front. And then we also have the straight just blackout gear, which is just it's black on black. You can see it. It shows up pretty similar to this of just that. You also get a discount code for 10% off, and you get all these other fun stuff too, including the desk mat, which I actually have. And for those who don't know, Michaela helped me design the desk mat. So you get access to those, and you also get access to my Unfortunati drive. It's all listed in your perks if you really want it. It is located here, and I am working to add to these things. I have a couple other ones. I have a GO satellite one to add to this. I also have a couple of things too. Undersea cables are actually going to be added more to it. And there's some other things like Face Singer and stuff like that that I have to upload. I'm getting to that. Again, vacation has been kind of taking up most of my mental space because I'm not going to lie. I'm really waiting for it. I really want to go. Just want to say thank you because I can. Sour Pounder for $5 Aussie. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. You're more than welcome. Thank you for being here. Been to Bahrain. That was fun. Not. Hey, big fish. Try being in Bahrain during Ramadan and Christmas. That was fun. Yeah, buy a day t-shirt. Yes, absolutely. Buy a day t-shirt. If you're looking for it, the day t-shirt is actually located under uh, spell my own shop anymore. Here. It's under new releases, and you have your Densa and they gear all there for you. Two different types. There's a white shirt and a black shirt here, and then there's the black shirt with the white field behind it. Take your pick. It was featured prominently on Mikey Smith's stream, and also during the Globe Lab stream. Where can I buy a Dan body pillow? Ooh. Do you want it with or without the sound modulator? That's the question. Yeah, the black on black was one I really wanted to do. I'm not gonna lie. And doing the black on black with the Unfortunati is just like we're sort of a secret society, but not really. You had an A3 Sky Warrior. Hold on. That's a flashback. So they were long gone by the time I got there. Yes, these were on carriers, and that's how their wings folded. They are very long. They are big. Uh, they're kind of ugly. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah. So when the oldest plane that was on that I was there for was the A6 Intruder. It got decommed and phased out when replaced with F-18s right after my first deployment. So I was lucky enough to fly with them, and I got to see one of them fully loaded with the wings like bending down. I mean, it was pretty impressive. But we also had the EA-6B Prowlers, which are 4-seaters A6s for electronic warfare. Those are fun too. Your day t-shirt is black on blue or blue on black. If you want a black on black one, I might be able to design one of those too. But I think my favorite one, I think my favorite plane growing up is not the F5. Skyhawk. They were in Top Gun as the Op 4, flown by Viper and Jester. For attack planes, they were pretty maneuverable. Surprisingly, could carry quite a bit of ordnance for its size, but really cool plane. One of my favorites. The F5 Tiger is another one of mine, but that was Air Force, not Navy. So I lived near 3 Air Force bases, so we had a lot of F5 and F4s near us. We also had a lot of B-52s near us, and we also had Airlift Command. So that was the MAC base. So that had like C5s and some of those other ones too. So here they call them CF-188 Hornets. Oh, okay. You have to. So if I make a black on black day shirt, you're gonna have to buy one, Holy. Hold on, CF-188. You don't have any idea how disturbing it was that I looked up. Oh, the F-18 Hornets are the CF-188. Okay. We had what was it? Olivia, that same California trip, we went out to Palm Springs. There's an old military museum out there with planes, and they had a plane from the exact squadron of EA-6B Prowlers that I loaded, VAQ-134, on the flight line in a fucking museum. It was a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A little disheartening, a little humbling of sorts. I'm not going to lie. We sold ours to New Zealand. Yeah. The interesting thing, well, I know we were talking about it briefly during the little presentation thing in TED Talk. The U.S. basically the Australians had a contract in place to buy submarines from France. France makes good submarines. However, the U.S. said, well, no, buy ours instead. And the Aussies said, you know what, that's a good idea. I bet if they bought them from France, they'd have them already. But I digress. It's one of the advantages for the AUKUS treaty and for the Five Eyes, and that we share a lot of technologies going back and forth. It's very limited in the technologies we don't share. Like, I believe the F-22 is one of the ones we don't share specifically. Arrow's at the top of my list. Okay. That's not a bad one. The Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt. Yeah. That's... Look, it's Air Force, so I automatically have to hate it to begin with, but... That thing is, you are absolutely a stick jockey, because that thing is, it's more of a controlled fall than a flight. Like you don't fly it as much as you steer it, as I was told by one of the pilots. And not to mention, I mean, that Gatling gun putting in, spent uranium bullets through armor is something to behold. The software I worked on in the telco industry has a weird through line with aircraft. Really? Yeah, I know. When the aircraft you worked on is in a museum, it's time to maybe consider that, you're kind of past your peak. Me walking is a controlled fall. Yeah, that's I can sympathize with that. All right, I'm gonna do a quick poll. Should I make a members only black on black day? Here. There's a poll for you guys. Now, CSA, if you want to go like that far back, the P-51 Mustang is probably my second favorite one behind the F-4U Corsair. Although the Spitfire was a beast of a plane. Well, beast in a simple term that it could literally outturn everybody. Yeah, you never forget the sound of an A-10 firing. Just that burt. In fact, hold on. Let's remind everybody what an A-10 sounds like when it's firing. That the sound, it stops shooting before you hear the sound. It's just crazy. That one, this is out in 29 Palms. I can tell you that for right now. I know that area well. The fart of death. Oh shit, I thought I transitioned. I'm sorry, people. Whoops. Good. Again. The munitions for that thing is just, I mean, the whole thing is armored. It is literally like flying an armored battle. From what I understand. Yeah, given the rise of MPADs, but a lot of people call it the cross of death when you saw it above. When you see that silhouette. It's like, oh shit mentality. So yeah, I mean, they're maneuverable. Don't get me wrong, but they're not. I mean, this is how big the rounds are. Ouch. The best noise for ground troops to hear is, well, actually any air cover, from what I understand. But the specific Bert sound that you heard, that was something else to behold. Well, it looks like I'll be designing more apparel now, since we have 13 votes, and it looks like only one of you said no. Uh, look, I don't. What's time? Seriously. No, but the F-4U Corsair is my favorite one from the World War II era, followed by the P-51 Mustang and the P-38 Lightning. Is but a flesh wound. Yeah, if that hits you, that's not a flesh wound. That's vapor. Uh, yeah, fun times all the way around. Let's see. Probing time uploaded some videos. Um, to me today was kind of fun because I was on Matt's stream, and I wasn't going to come up because I was doing other things, but I happened to be home, and I was just like, oh, hold on, let me show you what Earthshine looks like. Let me show you what the shadow of the Earth looks like via lunar eclipses. So it was fun. Oh, Max. Did they have Corsairs probing? Earthshine was a hoax. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's like 80 or 90 F stops. So yeah, not a big thing. But yeah, this one, this picture is very cool. I used to have this as my background, but it's a little distracting. Um, if you want to know where this picture is from, it's from the video. It was done by a content creator with Terrence Tao of UCLA, and it was talking about the astrological ladder and how they came up with the ladder and everything else. Awesome video on its own right. Very awesome because of that. Where are the stars? Yeah, I know, no shit, huh? I mean, to me, this is pretty indicative of what the Earth's shadow actually looks like, because, if you just line up all the pictures that you take and, yeah, it makes a round shadow. You're not presupposing anything. All you're doing is saying, hey, I got a shadow on here. 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 And hey, what if I add these all together? What does it look like? Ta-da. A bunch of aircraft. So they had F-4U Corsairs there. Probing time. If you could, because you didn't get a video or picture, you're now banned. Well, actually, you didn't know it was my favorite, so But still, how could you not go with the gull wing? I mean, come on. I don't think there was one. It seems odd that they wouldn't. There's more P-51s in the world than there are F-4Us, coincidentally. I'd specifically get my pilot's license to fly an F-4U and rebuild one and just turn it into a hobby and just fly around the air shows. That's my retirement plan. Fly around the air shows in a P-38 or an F-4U and make that my life. Funny thing is, I know where to get a P-38 Lightning. It's at the bottom of the Pacific, unfortunately. I scuba dived it, but it's a really cool dive. And it has when I dived it had a resident wolf eel who was very, very friendly, regardless of how he looked. Top chat. What the fuck? I refreshed it. That's why. I'd fly it under a bridge on the Rhine. Yeah. There's a video of a Spitfire flying over somebody who was making a video, and it was pretty good, actually. Where was that one? Hold on. Let me find that one. Was hilarious. So Spitfire flying over reporter, I think is what it is. Yep, this one.
He's rolling now.
He's rolling.
You tell me when to start speaking.
Okay. Do it.
Speaking?
Yep.
On the 5th of March 1936, the Spitfire prototype K5054 made its first ever flight from the Supermarine Works at East Lynne, southern England, heralding the start of a legend that is just as powerful today as it was during those dark years of World War II.
I may have shit myself, to be honest. I love that video. That video is priceless. Yes, that one, Copium. Oh, curious. I would love to do the mock loop because there's so many planes that fly through there. If you guys don't know, there's this area where they fly planes. It's in between the canyons for low flying maneuvers, and you can get up there and take pictures. But see, let's just do this one. And just the whole hillside is just people with cameras taking pictures as they fly through. Canyon high-speed passes. Just unreal. That's down in Wales, you said? Curious? That's a great picture, by the way, of the Mustang and two Spitfires. I got one of a Mustang. Oh, let me pull this up. This is my personal drive. Let's see. Here you go, probing. Here's one I got at the air show up here. P-51 Mustang with an F-22. Let's see. Yeah, you see, I know you see a lot of F-35s there. I think you saw, you see some Typhoons there too, occasional F-22. A lot of people come up to that area to run that mock loop because it's perfect for, you know, practice and things like that. All right, Nick, I'm going to pull that up next. Believe it or not, the P-51 landed first, but that may have been just so they didn't run it over. This was taken by my phone from work because my office, where my office used to be before they closed it, was right off the Air National Guard base, and that's where they did the air shows. And so they were there starting like that Wednesday or Thursday doing practice flights. So I got pictures of the F-22s and things like that too. So I got some pictures of here's a P-38 Lightning. Here's Olivia in a flight simulator dogfighting. Some of these are mine. Some of these are not mine. Some of these are friends of mine. Some of these I got at museums. Had more from the air show, but I'll have to see if I can find those. Wait, here we go. So we had the Blue Angels. P-51 coming in. Another P-51 we had. An F-22 doing a stall maneuver. Oh, you got 4 Texans? I had one of those 1 year. I don't think I ever downloaded them though. Some of these are from Ace Fox. If you guys know who Ace Fox is, he does a lot of air shows. He's a great photographer. I would recommend finding out where his website is. Some of these I downloaded just so I could use them as wallpapers. My nephew and Olivia, Olivia when she was little. Let's see. This is one of my pictures, actually. So is this one. That one. Yeah. Here's the tail of the actual VAQ-135. It was last on the George H.W. Bush, but this was the same. This just had a different name on it, but that was the logo of it. That was the Garudas in a museum. That was the quite humbling affair of that. Yeah, yeah. So this is Ace Fox right here. So you can go to if you search up Ace Fox, he has some great pictures. If you guys ever want some of those, highly recommend it. He takes some great stuff. Ooh, vapor cones. Let's pull that up too.
At a military air show, something outside of the jet maneuvers may catch your attention, not the tracer smoke.
I'm gonna show you guys too. I gotta make sure I don't get hammered for copyrights or some stupid shit.
smoke meant to leave a trail behind the planes. A cloud that forms around the plane at times.
Shoulders of the
I've
spaceship.
seen an F-18 go by at after breaking the speed the speed of sound, and it has a cone, a vapor cone around it as it goes by. It's freaking unreal. Let's see, what was the other one you sent me, Nick?
P-38 Lightning 2. What a great picture opportunity here as our Hornets taxi back to the performer parking area. As the P-38 flies over top.
For you, Corsair. Wow, you're hitting all the majors.
The Ericsson aircraft collection proudly displays a Mini-51 Mustang, the Corsair, the Dauntless, the Grumman Duck, and the B-17 Flying Fortress. There goes the Dauntless. P-38 counted for more Japanese aircraft losses. And Charles Interiors, despite having been marked for retirement, the Dauntless sent more enemy shipping during 1942 than Douglas is what SBD stands for. Now, this particular aircraft is actually an Army A-24 Banshee that was transferred to Tinkerfield, Oklahoma. It was removed from the inventory back in 1946. Roy has some fun facts. The forces display between your Royal Canadian Air Force and your Canadian Army. We are launching our ship. The target, here comes our
I mean, F-14s to me are still better. I'm not gonna lie. The snowbirds are too old to fly? What are they flying? Arrows? Sorry, can't hear me over the planes. I didn't realize I had the volume up that loud. I'll turn it down. All right, Adam, catch you later. Thanks for stopping by. Formation is absolutely nuts. Yeah, chemtrails at AF. Absolutely. Yeah, that Rolls-Royce Merlin. That one where they fly over that guy and he shits himself is just, that's one of my favorite videos. Because he knew it was coming. And they were trying to time it right, and he still scared the shit out of him. To be fair, if I was a cameraman, I probably would have ducked too. CT 114 tutors. Okay. I did see the F2 before. I did see the flares before. I got to see a B-1B before. Yeah, I used to go to all the air shows. It used to be fun. It's all because of that that flare coming off of the off the cockpit. Actually, here, I'll show you what let's see if I can find the one. Not the F-14, the F-18. taking on my boat? That's exactly what we saw. I could have been taken from my boat. The same Tiger cruise, or the same family day cruise. That's crazy. Oh, oops, I'm sorry. I'm not showing you guys. Whoops. Sorry. May have been taken from my ship, actually. Hold on, wait. Let me... If I can see any logos on the planes. That's a C2. That's not going to help me. That might be an F-114, the AW-114. I don't know. That may have been on the boat I was on. Go figure. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't showing the video. It missed the landing cable by that much. Let me see if I can find an F-14 flyby. I'm curious. Where is he? As we're being rolled in.
Ladies and gentlemen, the F-14.
There he goes.
Yeah!
Split the boats. Oh, fuck. God damn it. Hold on. I thought I hit the transition button. Maybe I have to map my button again. I have it set to my mouse. So I don't have to keep like going over to OBS over here to click something. So maybe I don't. I don't know. I'll have to look at it again. Let's try this again.
There he goes. Yeah!
What would happen if it caught the cable going that fast? If it got the cable going that fast, you know, I don't know. I think what would happen would be the cable would break and the aircraft would probably crash into the deck. I don't know. It's not going to just tear, that's for sure. I mean, the cables are like this big around and they're braided steel. Bigger cables are. Oh, here you go. That's how they make them. Never like to watch these, but let's see if we'll pull one up for you. But anyway, that's basically all I have. You guys want to talk to anything else? We can talk to anything else. Otherwise, yeah, I'm I'm more or less done for the night. I haven't made dinner yet. I'm gonna go make me some taquitos at some point because it's too late to order from Uber Eats. Yeah, I've showed it before. Hold on a second. I believe these pilots ended up getting a Navy Cross. Um, Played this before. Hold on a second. Let me play this again. So let me go back to this. So in the flight deck, there's actually like a divot that's carved out with a camera pointing up. So this is like on the ball, right? So you can see the horizontal and vertical axes. And you can actually watch this on the ship. You can watch them land all the time, and they switch back and forth between this one and also the one on the island, which you'll see right after this. But this is an E2 Hawkeye that's coming in for landing, and while it's landing, every plane goes to full throttle on the off chance that the cable snaps. He went to full throttle after being almost stopped and was able to wrestle the plane into the air. So if you see, so if you look at right about, it's like right about here that the cable that the cable snaps. You can see it just take off. Now you saw him jump. Now you see these, everyone here is running to go see if they ejected or if they went in the water to call man overboard. And every one of them are like, okay, we're fine.
3 pilots.
But yeah, they got I believe they got the Navy Cross for not, for rescuing that plane from the drink. So there we go. I'm not sure if there's anything else you guys want to see, you guys want to talk about, review, make fun of. I don't know. Whatever you guys feel like doing. That's a little hairy probing. Yeah, so when we talk about like the catapults, the steam catapult, I've actually catapulted off and landed on a carrier. And I've actually I still have the holdback pin actually somewhere. I'm not sure where. I have to look for it. I've helicoptered on and off a carrier, including a horse collar down to a destroyer. That was fun. Countless airplane loads, lots of hours on the flight deck itself. Yeah, it's a scary place, but also a very cool place at the same time. I don't think so, Dougal. I'm gonna try, but most of what I'm doing is there's multiple moving parts, so trying to figure everything out is gonna be a little difficult. I hope to live stream it. The problem is I gotta hotspot my phone, and then I need to connect the P1000 to like I think I got to go to an HDMI port on my laptop and then make that a virtual capture card as a source in, and then I got to figure out the logistics. Right now, unless it's something that doesn't require the P1000, probably not. Because I think Livia's going to help me on some of these too, so I don't want her necessarily on camera. But if I have a chance and I can figure it out quickly, I will. But otherwise, I'll probably just be recording and then packing up and then going to spend time with family the rest of the day. Because like one of them is going to be trying to keep a container ship in frame while I'm zoomed in on a tripod, and while I'm also monitoring AIS, which is the radio beacon, on a 20-foot fiberglass pole with the antenna on top, so I can still receive its signals after it goes over the horizon for me optically, so I know exactly where it was when it went over, and I can do the math to figure out what the curvature is based on the refractive index and all that other fun stuff. Jerked him backward, so he got thrown forward, and then a huge slam back into the seat heart. Huh. I wonder. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of hassle. I'm wondering why he got thrown forward. Because most of the aircraft are moving pretty easily, and the shuttle doesn't get launched unless everything is there, and the holdback bar is there to hold it back. So the only thing I think of is the holdback bar wasn't in its in the notch. Maybe he jerked forward that route as soon as he pumped the power. But I mean, that's a big error on somebody's mistake. You're not seeing that holdback there. But that would lurch him forward, and then he would get launched right afterwards, and then probably separate it back the other way. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little complicated to do all those things. So I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to do a couple of them. Like the ferry one might be easy enough to do. I don't know. Maybe I just go on my phone, put it on a phone holder, and then zoom in by 10, and and just do it as a quick one. Like, hey, what do you see of this? As much as I'd like to, to do a 3-hour live stream of nothing but a ferry boat going away and then a ferry boat coming back. A, I don't think anyone's going to watch it, and B, it's going to be a little complicated. So I don't know. I might post them up on the post as I do them, and then turn them into videos. Like I'll put stills on individual posts on the channel, and then I'll do then I'll post the video when I get back, and put it into video format and stuff like that. Be more entertaining than a Roger stream. Yeah, you're not lying. Take it easy, CSA. Appreciate it. You guys got anything else? Anything? Going once, going twice? Well, it wouldn't have been his fault probing. It would have been the green shirt that was loading him into the catapult. But we're human. We make mistakes. So I'm glad it didn't cost him his life, but it's sad to hear that he never got full use of his arm back. But hey, at least he continued to fly, so that's a plus. Got nothing. Nope. All right, guys, I guess we'll send it off here. Actually, hold on. Wait 1 second. I'm going to play the one song submission we have for Globe Labs, and I'm going to have you guys tell me what you think of that. How's that sound? And you guys can tell me whether or not you're going to, you guys are going to make any songs for us. Where the hell's CSA? Or no, CMS. Hold on. There he is. Okay. Here we go. This is the Globe Lab song that he made for us.
Welcome, everyone. The lab is open. Curiosity required. Let's find out. Every question starts somewhere, with a spark that lights the way. Every answer waits in silence, till experiments have their say. No assumptions, no excuses, no opinions taking flight. Just the tools upon the table, bringing truth to light. Watch it move, watch it spin, step by step, side by side. Science comes alive. The Globe Lab, where questions come alive. The Globe Lab, where evidence survives. Build it, test it, see what's true. Reality is waiting for you. The Globe Lab, come and see. Learning starts with curiosity. Light and shadow, force and motion, gravity and time. The universe in every line. Hands-on learning, open thinking. Every test becomes a clue. Science isn't just in textbooks, it's something you can do. Try again, take your time. Learning happens one step at a time. Keep your eyes, keep your mind. Curiosity's how we shine. The Globe Lab, where questions come alive. The Globe Lab, where evidence survives. Build it, test it, see what's true. Reality is waiting for you. The Globe Lab, come and see. Learning starts with curiosity. No matter where you started, no matter what you've heard, every great discovery began with just one word. Why?
That fucked it all up. So there you go. There's a sneak peek of it. Whoops. I closed the window. All right. Well, such is life. So there you go. There you go. Everything else. Yes, I do have to push. We're doing an audio book read of the Mikey book, Holy Hand Grenade. If you can post a link to that book. Right now, Cuppy Cake is the only one who actually put in a reading for it. All reading is will be entered in, and prizes for prizes for the readout is something from the Unfornicated store, and prizes for the Globe Lab is either from the Globe Lab store, the Unfornicated store, or the Drunk the Bunk Show store. So take your pick. It's kind of what that one is. But those are the two contests that we're running. Thank you for the reminder, Holy Hand Grenade. I appreciate that. And to be fair, Dougal, I'm right there with you. Keeping the swear words down to a minimum is kind of difficult for me, not gonna lie. Although Mike has done it more than I have now. So yeah, take that for wizard. Everyone thought it would be me, but it's been Mike the whole time. That's all I got to say. And Holy Hand Grenade, keep pushing the Saturday morning cartoon feel, because I mean, Mike and I are pretty much cartoons anyway. And there's going to be like different uses for it too. So it's going to be, oh, Joe Black made an entry too. Hold on a second. Joe Black made an entry for us. Where is it? Hold on. Let me find Mike. Hold on. Let me just where would I like to go? Joe Black. Oh, here we go. All right, I'm gonna play this one for you guys real quick. I'll just give you guys a little snippet of it.
Testing ideas, seeing what they're worth, searching for the truth all around the earth. Globe Lab, we're breaking through, and I don't know what's really true. From every corner, every network, Globe Lab, doing the work. Doing the work.
That's a little intro that he made too. So we have 2 entries. Most entries will probably be, I mean, if we like them, we'll put them to use for anything, like whether it's a video intro or whether it's a segment or something like that. There'll be different clips and stuff like that. So Joe did that one. The other one was done by CMS. Yeah, hi. I know. We'll go out in a minute, okay? The dog is now pawing me to like, hey, dumbass, it's time to go. Hi. Yes. All right. Is anyone streaming right now? We can do a raid. Anybody? Let's see. Who is live? Don't see any of the debunkers live. So I guess that ends it then. All right, so we're not raiding anybody. We could raid some random person. That would probably be hilarious, but no, let's not do that. Give Doggy a hug for me. The Bait Hub. Is the Bait Hub live? Live? Oh, yeah, they are. They're doing a rum and coke. Okay. So let me do this. All right, I'll send you guys over to the Debate Hub. Then let me figure out, let's see, let me edit this. Settings? No. Customization. Redirect. I'm going to send you guys over to the Debate Hub. Make sure you tell Chesh and everybody over there I said hi. And I will catch you guys later on this week. We'll do at least one more live stream before vacation. So typical sign off. I appreciate you guys all being here. I thank you for all the support. Just being here means the world to me. And the fact that you want to hear what I have to say makes me wonder about your life choices. All that being said, stay uncensored, stay unapologetic, and stay unfornicated. I will see you guys on the next trip.